Hi guys, so I'm assuming you all know ये क्या है, and there are thousands of crores of this lying around in India and maybe outside also. And you might already know this, but basically there's an institution called the RBI, and let me tell you how it works. Just kidding, I don't know much, but you see, there's a signature of a guy on every note you have, on every note I have. He's the RBI governor, the top dog. But we don't have him yet. We have the next best thing. We have Mr. M.K. Verma, who's worked with 3 different RBI governors in his time at the RBI. He was then responsible for looking over demonetization in the state of Bihar. We also talked to him about a whole variety of topics, including how do you approach banks and NBFCs if you're a startup, how RBI cooks new ideas, and we got to know from him the importance of cash, the why CBDCs are coming, why CBDCs might be a good thing, maybe they could be a bad thing, and why RBI was better at handling inflation than other central banks in the world, as you may know. So it's a very riveting, very interesting conversation, and we do hope you enjoy it.
Sir, so we'll go into the deeper questions later, but we would like to start with understanding what your journey was, like your career journey in brief, and your time with central banks and RBI. Just to start off and give a broad overview of what you have done.
Uh, uh, to be very specific, actually, I did my post-graduation from Allahabad University, and immediately after that, I got a job as assistant professor in Bihar University. I remained there for 2 years. I was teaching the graduate students and the postgraduate students also. After that, actually, I was selected. In fact, I topped the list of the civil servants in the Bihar, and I became a deputy collector. So I was also there as a Bihar Administrative Service Executive for 2 years. And then actually I was writing the examination for UPSC as well as other All India examinations. So I got the opportunity to work in Government of India also. I was selected for Indian Police Service, Indian Railway Traffic Service, as well as the Grade B examination of Reserve Bank of India. So after a lot of deliberation, I chose to work with Reserve Bank of India. I came to Reserve Bank of India, and then I spent there 35 years. And in 2017, I retired the regional director in charge of Bihar and Jharkhand. After that, actually, Government of India appointed me on the board of Bank of Maharashtra, which is a public sector bank, as a director. There I remained for 4 years. That stint has recently been over. After that, actually, I am working as an independent director on the board of a non-banking financial company. It is a Choice International Limited. It is a Bombay-based company, and it is also in the lending business. At the same time, also I am a professor at Symbiosis International University in Pune. I am teaching MBA students over there for the last 7 years. So this has been, in a nutshell, my specific professional journey through.
Sir, so what were the exams or qualifications you needed to pass to go to the RBI post in the beginning?
Reserve Bank of India has got a Reserve Bank of India Services Board, and they conduct examination, all India examination. Part of it is actually it is preliminary examination, then the final main examination, written examination, and then you have to go through the interview. So anybody who is aspiring to join Reserve Bank of India has to appear for those examinations, and if he is through, then he is appointed. After due diligence, I mean your police verification and other things are done, and if you come out clean on those aspects, then you are appointed as a officer in the Reserve Bank of India.
Sir, and what was the role that you entered into RBI, and then how has it evolved? How did it evolve in the 35 years? What kind of career progression can a student expect when they enter this?
Actually, Reserve Bank of India structure is like that. We have got a central office at Bombay, or now you can Mumbai. In those days, we used to call Bombay. Then you have got the regional offices spread across the country. We have got, to be very specific, 29 regional offices, mostly in the state headquarters. So the job of the central office is to formulate policy for the country, banking policy, financial policy, market policy, and the job of the regional office to see their implementation.
Hmm.
So I started initially my career in the regional offices.
Okay.
And since you may be aware that Reserve Bank of India is a regulator and the supervisor of the financial sector, the banks and the non-banking financial company and the financial market. So I started at a very young stage, 24, 25, with Reserve Bank of India. So my first job was to inspect commercial banks. I was inspecting all the banks, private, public, everything. And then we used to prepare a report. Then we used to tell the bank that what are their weaknesses and how they have to improve on those weaknesses. Because as a regulator, we are responsible for the health of the banking institution in the country. So that was there. And then from there, actually, we have to do currency management. You know that Reserve Bank of India also the currency manager. They are the issuer of currency. They are the only Reserve Bank can issue currency notes and coins. So I was also associated with this issue department work, where actually I was issuing currency throughout the state, and it has to go to the currency chase. From currency chase, it used to go to banks, and from bank, it is coming to your pocket. So like that, and then I moved to central office. In the central office, actually, I got the opportunity to work in the policy making areas. I was working in the regulation department where the policies are made for the entire banking sector. Then I also work in the supervision department of the Bank of India, where actually you have to conduct inspections and see whether those policies are being followed or not followed. And then actually I also got the opportunity, which you can get only in central office. I was working with the governance system of the bank, where actually appointment of governor, deputy governors, and the director of the central board of the Bank of India takes place. So that the department called secretaries department. So I was also arranging the meeting of the central board of the Reserve Bank of India and the committees of the Reserve Bank of India board. So I got very good exposure. When I was there, the governor were Dr. Y.B. Reddy, Dr. Subbarao, and Dr. Raghuram Rajan. So I had the opportunity to work with three governors when I was in that department. And then I also worked in the regulation department, supervision department, financial market department. And finally, in 2013, I was transferred to Patna as a regional director in charge of two states, Bihar and Jharkhand. And there, the basic focus was in those days. You may recall that in 2014, the Jan Dhan Yojana was started. So it was a very, you can say, ambitious program of financial inclusion. So I also, as a regional director, I used to see that everybody should get connected to the financial system. And throughout the 4-year stint, I traveled through the length and breadth of both the states. I went even to the remotest village. I met the public. I wanted to know that what is their banking issues, what are their banking problems, how the banks are functioning in the rural areas, how it can be further improved. So I had to do a lot of things, and then the financial literacy and education also, that was my very important aspect of my profile. I always felt that actually many people who may be very good in their career, but they do hardly have got any knowledge about how they should actually deal with the financial system. And that's why you see that nowadays many people are being duped. You get a link and you click, and then your money is actually taken away and all. So I thought that actually we should spread financial inclusion as far as possible. And so whenever I got the opportunity, I started a Pathshala in the Reserve Bank building itself, in Patna building, where I used to call the 10th and 12th students of almost all schools which are there in Patna. And I used to take classes myself. I used to teach them basic banking, basic actually do's and don'ts of banking, and how they can further actually transmit that knowledge to other people who are deprived. Then I used to go to colleges, campuses also. All IITs, IIM, XLRI, XISS, all campuses I have gone. I interacted with the students and the faculty there, and also tried to impart that particular financial literacy and education to these people. So I work on these two basic aspects. Although I got, as a regional director, I have got so many functions, but I can tell you the financial inclusion and financial literacy was very dear to my heart.
Understood.
You were always a teacher along with your job.
I was always, at her time, actually basically a teacher. So I started my career in 1980 as a professor, and I'm still teaching in Symbiosis to stages. So the life has come a full circle, you can say.
Sir, so this was
Even
like
whenever I was Reserve Bank of India also, whenever I used to get the opportunity, I used to go to the campuses and I used to interact with the student. I used to mentor them that what they should know, how they should behave, how they should prepare themselves for future life and all.
So just something about the beginning part when you said you analyzed banks for their health, etc. Like what was that process like? Because I can imagine at 24, 25, we are also young. So taking that kind of large task, what exactly went on there? Any stories you have?
It was quite fascinating because at that young stage also, I used to inspect the zonal offices headed by the general manager of public sector bank. I used to inspect the local head office, which was headed by the chief general manager of State Bank of India. So, but this is a responsibility which you have to discharge because you are a regulator and supervisor of the banking system. So we were always asked that actually we used to have an inspection plan for the particular quarter, and then certain banks used to be taken up during that particular quarter, and we used to ask that you have to inspect this particular bank. So you go to the bank and you will look into their books and accounts, that how they are performing, whether they are serving the people properly or not, whether they are making due diligence properly or not, whether they are lending as per the Reserve Bank policies or not, and what kind of problems the public have got, whether those grievances are being redressed or not. All these things we used to look into that. And wherever there was any gaps into that particular system, we used to tell the bank, look, these are your weak areas and you have to improve on that. So this is the job of supervision.
Understood.
Sir, when you transition into the post with the Bank of Maharashtra as the nominee director, what was your role there? Was it different from when you were directly working with the RBI, or did it
No,
shift?
it's a different role. Bank of Maharashtra is a public sector commercial bank. Reserve Bank of India is the central bank of the country. There we don't have any customer. The Reserve Bank customer is banks and government, where actually the public sector bank customer is people like us. Is it not? So totally different paradigm shift was there when I was appointed. But actually in this Public Sector Bank Act, there is a provision that one director on the board of the public sector bank will be appointed by Government of India, who has got a special knowledge of supervision and regulation on the recommendation of Governor of Reserve Bank of India. So under those provisions, I was appointed. And I'd like to share with you that I was the first retired RBI officer to be appointed as a director on the board of public sector bank. There, it was way back in 2019, and the condition of bank was not very good. It was struggling with a huge amount of losses were there. Then there were problems with non-performing assets. The huge amount of assets were not performing. NPA it has become, and then actually their capital was also reduced. So Reserve Bank of India has put this particular bank along with other banks, 11 banks, public sector banks, were put under prompt corrective action framework, where actually you cannot do many things on your own. You have to take RBI permission to do many because your financial position is very weak. So this Bank of Maharashtra has just come out 2-3 months back, and then my job was to nurture this bank back to health. And then the journey started. We have just actually, I've just compiled a study also on this wonderful transformation. And this study is now posted on the Harvard Business Publishing website. So it was a very satisfying journey, I can say. And now, as of now, the Bank of Maharashtra is I think I can say one of the best performing public sector bank in the country. So on the board, you have to devise the strategy, how the banks will make a turnaround. So whatever I gauze that actually this bank is weak on 3 accounts. So I used to call it 3P. So product, process, and price. So any company which has to make a turnaround, it has this is the mool mantra. First, the product means you should have as many products as possible for different kind of people. Only then you can attract more customer. So I decided as a board that actually we should have more and more financial products to offer to the customers. And then actually once that's why we call one parivar, one bank. This is the motto of Bank of Maharashtra. So if you are a family, then you have got so many demands, so many requirements. Somebody wants a housing loan, somebody wants a vehicle loan, somebody wants education loan, somebody wants some other loan. So the bank should be in a position to fulfill all these demands. So you have to proliferate your products, financial product. So we worked on that and we saw that whatever maximum product we can launch into the market. Then the process. Process, you see, nowadays actually banking is working on technology. So if you work on the traditional channel, your reach will be very limited. So we started actually taking or Sometimes inside also we developed a lot of software, and we also brought from the market, from the vendors, from the very big companies like TCS and Capgemini and all, so that actually our entire working should be very efficient. So nowadays, if you see, the Bank of Maharashtra is offering most of its product through digital channel. So that was the process. And then the price. You know that India is a very price sensitive country. So we always go for anything which is cheaper. So we thought that our product also should be cheaper. Means loans should have lesser interest rate.
Wow.
And we have got the advantage in Bank of Maharashtra that our cost of fund is very low because the CASA is very high, more than 50%. That's why you see any product of Bank of Maharashtra we made very cheap, whether it's housing loan or car loan or personal loan. And so a lot of people flock to it. And our growth is the highest in the industry. Every quarter it is 26-27%, which is no bank has been able to achieve. Our NPA is lowest in the industry. It is 0.021%. So I think in 4 years, the bank made a tremendous turnaround, and a bank which was almost sinking has now become one of the best performing public sector banks. I have got a satisfaction that during my tenure it could happen. So this is the journey with the Bank of Maharashtra.
Very inspiring thing, sir.
Uh,
These numbers that you have told, I think, are very competitive in terms of the NPAs also.
yeah. Sir, also,
especially for public sector banks, क्योंकि the perspective of most people is कि public sector bank है तो it will be worse than the private banks, because basically public sector banks need to uh, work for the people also instead of focusing on profits only. But achieving that number with that goal in mind also, it's very new thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't.
The public sector bank is very challenging because you have to carry the mantle of social banking. At the same time, you need to be competitive and compete with other private sector bank also. Now, Jandan Yojana, PM Swanidhi Yojana, all these are actually schemes which is launched by the government of India, which is mostly done by the public sector bank. But they still at the same time they have to remain afloat. They cannot actually become non-performing, or they cannot actually afford to become less competitive in the market. Then actually their entire existence will be at stake.
Correct.
So today actually on many parameters we are competing with this private sector bank like HDFC, ICFAI bank. At the same time actually we are doing many social services which they are not doing.
sir, and on the processes part, like you mentioned, becoming tech enabled and uh, like making those process efficient using software is a priority now for banks, and this is a trend that we are seeing across banks. So,
Yes.
do you see the role of fintechs as partners there, or are banks trying to do this transformation themselves? Like, because a lot of fintechs are coming up and saying, "Ki we will partner with banks on this." Like, what do you think the view is there currently?
No, this is the latest trend because now the banks cannot become selfish that I'll do on my own. It's not possible also because
Okay.
banks domain is something else. You try to understand.
Hmm.
Their people are more tuned about banking product. They know less about technology. Is it not? And if
Hmm.
you start recruiting technocrats, then it will not become a bank. It will become a technical company kind of situation. So banks do not have any option but to partner with fintech companies.
Yeah.
Because fintech company we will providing the technology, bank has got the resources, money. So that bank's resources, that is money, will be traveling on this, technology provided by the fintech, and it will be a win-win situation because fintech do not have the money, bank do not have the technology, but public wants both. They want actually money very quickly as per their requirement. So if they come and partner, I think it's a win-win situation for public, for bank, for fintech companies. And this is what is happening. I can tell you with the Bank of Maharashtra, we are partnering with so many, more than half a dozen fintech companies.
Sir, and what are these kinds of fintechs? Are they just very software focused, or are they lending fintechs also trapping customer bases that Bank of Maharashtra is not? Or like how does that look?
No, no, fintech companies which are partnering with the banks, they are providing technology solution.
Okay.
How your reach will be tremendous, even if you are physically not present. So,
Hmm.
like I will tell you that we have got an app, Mahabank app.
Hmm.
So now you did not actually go to the bank to do any banking. You can either come to the Bank of Maharashtra website or you come to the app, and most of the banking transaction you can do through the apps. So these actually fintech companies are actually helping the bank in offering those digital products.
Understood.
They every day at time they decide, and that's why I can tell you this PM Swanidhi Yojana, which is launched by the Prime Minister recently. Now there is end to end encrypted, and there is no manual handling at any stage. And the person has to, the beneficiary has to go to the bank's app, and he has to upload all the information. And within 3 minutes, the loan is processed, and you get the message that you have been sanctioned this much of amount, which the money goes to your account in 3 minutes. So this is the power of technology.
Definitely, sir. मतलब, even 10 years back, this was unthought of.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had to go to
it was a
physical
dream.
banks.
Anybody who could have spoken, people would have thought that he's a crazy person.
Yeah.
But now it has become a fact.
Yeah. And like our payment systems, etc., are like better than anywhere in the world.
Mhm.
So
I think our payment system is the best in the world.
yeah.
That's why you see during this G20 conference, which was there in India, all these big people who have come from the developed country, everybody is showing interest in our UPI. And now through UPI, you can transmit money to at least 20 countries in the world. And more countries are actually expressing their desire to connect through the UPI. It is very good.
Sir, as you were speaking about fintechs, do you see any white spaces in the financial sector right now? Ki this small thing is needed, and a startup could come in and help the RBI or the banks, public sector and private sector. Do you see any white spaces for startups?
So the Reserve Bank of India also, they have actually created a department which is fintech department. You can understand the central bank's concern,
Hmm.
and it is headed by one executive director. So this is you can say actually a cauldron where actually all the ideas are being cooked, and once
Oh,
actually it is cooked, then it is sprayed against bank that this is something which has happened. Now you can take it forward.
okay.
So there are definitely areas. It's a, you can say it's a dynamic process. I cannot say that actually it has reached a perfect stage, but
Yeah.
whenever actually or wherever, whether the public sector bank or the Reserve Bank of India, they find that certain pockets are there where actually technology can be applied. It is being done and with good effects.
And so, just like one last question on this entire startup area, because many of our friends are looking to start up in fintech. Everybody sees India as a great place to start a financial services company. They ask you, like, how do you pitch to banks? Because banks are these large institutions that will be very like specific in the kind of softwares they use, because any kind of error will mean thousands of customers losing lots of money, right? So like how does a founder, like between the ages of, for example, 20 to 27, still building their reputation, come and pitch to a bank? How do they talk? Who do they talk to? How do they gain trust?
No, it all depends on your idea
Okay.
and how do you actually market that particular idea. So, although banks will be a little bit conservative, I must say, because it's a new thing, it has not been tried and tested. So, you have nothing to say that it has happened in the background. It's you have got only an idea, like a Paytm, like Ola, Uber. These are all actually startups. So, I mean, when they started, there was no concept earlier existing. So,
Yeah.
but banks' problem is that actually bank is working on public money, depositors' money. So they cannot actually risk the public money on an idea which has not been tried and tested, with for which there is no financial statement. Because
Hmm.
bank normally whenever any person goes to bank for any loan and all, bank says the 3 years balance sheet, 3 years trading account, profit loss account, and I will judge that how we have been doing. But the startup people do not have all these things.
Yeah.
So there is that's why the banks are very cautious in
Hmm.
dealing with the startups. But still, you have got alternative options. The private equity is there. A lot of money is not a problem nowadays in India. There are
Huh.
people with hordes of money sitting on the frontier of India. The people from outside across the border, and everybody is interested. If the idea is brilliant, then I think money is not a problem. Huge amount of money is pouring into India. So once the idea should catch attention, it should be a very good idea, and people should see that actually it will ultimately result in some kind of very productive activity. Then
Yeah.
definitely people are there to invest. Huge amount of money is there.
Sir,
Of
since
course,
you
it will not be with the mainstream financial institution because they are a little bit, you can say, apprehensive.
Sir, so expanding on this question only, since you're also working with NBFCs, so if I want to pitch to a financial institution, is pitching to an NBFC easier than to a bank? Because NBFC is not as bound as a bank because they're not dealing with people's money.
Of course, of course. Actually, NBFCs are very flexible. Banks, being an all India institution, is very structured and very tightly regulated also by this regulator across the globe, not only in India. Across the globe, banks are, because banks have got the public money. So it is very tightly regulated. It do not have much wherewithal and the elbow room. But actually, NBFCs, you can say, they offer customized services. So that's why people find it very flexible for to work with the NBFC. Their reach is also very wide. So they will go to your doorstep. They will, suppose if you have taken a loan and you want to say that I will repay on a weekly basis, it will not happen with the bank. But NBFC will say, yes, I can accept on a weekly basis, on a fortnightly basis. So it will customize the entire product as per your requirement.
Wow.
So their reach is very good. Their flexibility is very attractive. So banks and NBFCs complement each other. So banks are also carrying a mandate. NBFCs are also carrying a mandate. The banks number is very less, 200 banks in India, but NBFCs are 11,000. So you can understand wherever they are not there, everywhere, any nook and corner. You go to any remote villages, NBFCs are there. So it is microfinance also is an NBFC only. So they are working. I mean, so both are complementing each other, and most of the NBFCs are working on banks finance because many of them are not deposit taking NBFC, so they take loan from banks and they give to their customer, and again they repay to the banks. When I was in Bank of Maharashtra, so at the board level, used to sanction huge amount of loan to these NBFC, Bajaj Finance, Muthoot Finance, all these companies.
Understood. Sir, like, and given the intensity of the job, managing finance, it is always seen as a very stressful endeavor. So, like, any tips around how you sustain yourself taking these very high impact decisions, and like, how did you keep your mental peace intact during these years?
It will sound very unreal if I say that I got no stress in my life because I used to love my job.
Okay.
If you love your job, there will be no stress. If you think that it's a burden, then only the stress will be there. I'll tell you, I was regional director in charge of Bihar and Jharkhand when the demonetization happened in 2016, 8th November. I mean, nothing can give you more stress in Reserve Bank than demonetization. Entire country, this 1,000 rupees and 500 rupee notes were taken away. And I did not have any note with me also, because it takes a lot of time to get the note printed. And then the logistic of reaching to everybody, it was very difficult. So that time I realized that actually the power of central bank communication. And I used to talk to media every day, morning, evening. I used to go to Doordarshan, then I used to go to the All India Radio and interact with the people. I used to tell them nothing is wrong, everything is under control. And I can tell you, the Reserve Director, Reserve Bank of India, that all your requirement demands will be met. And that used to cool tempers of the people. So I think I was also very, at that time, very normal. I mean, it was, people used to say that it is very troubled time, don't go out, don't meet people. I don't know, this is the time I must meet people. Because if I am going amidst them, they will feel that, okay, otherwise if I am remaining within my chamber, people will feel something wrong is there. So I used to frequently go to a Chamber of Commerce, Bihar Industry Association, and I used to frequently tell, and a lot of colleges, schools, I have gone that time, that why demonetization has been done, and why this less cash economy is good, and why you should transition from the cash economy to the online payment system and all. So you need to popularize, you need to educate people. So I never, in my entire 35 years of career in the Reserve Bank of India, I have not carried a single paper home after I have left office. I used to finish my job there. When I used to come back home, I used to spend time with my family. So my mantra is that if you have got clarity in thought, if your mind is not very cluttered, then there is no time actually in taking any decision, and you remain always very cool and calm. So there is no issue.
Yeah, sir. From outside, we seem to look at RBI as like one generally it's like one institution taking decisions and ऐसा we never know कि यहाँ पे भी लोग हैं उनकी भी
Correct,
जिंदगी
correct, correct, correct.
and they have to go through these stresses. So yeah,
When I was in Reserve Bank, my job was to demystify Reserve Bank.
Hmm.
Because people always think that it's a very big building, it's a stone building, what is happening inside, nobody knew. So I used to go to the people and tell that what Reserve Bank is doing to change their life.
Sir, so we had some macroeconomic questions since you know
Yeah.
the bird's eye view of the financial system of our country and the world also, since you've traveled to different countries in the conferences. So uh, after COVID, because of the money printing that had to happen to keep money in the system, inflation skyrocketed in most countries, but RBI kept it in control.
Yeah.
Like we didn't go from 5% to 10% to 15%. The US went from 2 to 7. They tripled or quadrupled their inflation, but we didn't. What do you think the RBI took those steps that kept us in control in that respect?
Normally, you see the Reserve Bank of India job is to control the money supply from the demand side. We can't do anything from the supply side. You know. So if the supply shock will be there, then Reserve Bank cannot do anything. But from the demand side, we can always, we can absorb money from the market so that actually inflation will not. So whenever Reserve Bank is calibrating that particular liquidity level in the system, and the Reserve Bank is extremely alive to that situation. It has never been actually found napping, whereas actually Fed Reserve and all, you see the banks failed and Fed Reserve was not aware. It has never happened in the Reserve Bank of India. We are always ahead of the curve. What is going to happen? There has been a transition shift in the monetary policy of Reserve Bank of India. Earlier, the monetary policy used to be backward looking. What has happened in the past? So we take a lesson. Now the monetary policy is forward looking. What is going to happen in future? So we have to take decision. So once you take a forward looking stance, then you can ward off all the things which is coming on the horizon. So Reserve Bank was very because this nowadays the entire world has become a global village. So even if there is a war of Ukraine and Russia, it is affecting India. Even if the war in Israel is there, it is impacting India. So you need to be extremely careful, and you have to take timely policies. Whenever you find that actually liquidity is less, the Reserve Bank has to inject liquidity. When you find that liquidity is more, then you have to absorb liquidity so that inflation has to remain at a optimum level. We do not want inflation to be too low also. Otherwise, in a developing country, it becomes too low, then there will be no growth. But if it is too high, then low investment will take place and the common people will be adversely affected. So that's why Reserve Bank has been, that's why the Governor Reserve Bank has been twice considered in 2023 as the best central bank governor in the world by two different organizations in USA and UK. And whenever you go outside and you talk about Reserve Bank of India, people feel, and they talk very high about its efficiency and how it has been performing.
And sir, regarding this forward-looking stance, first of all, how do you build those predictions? And then second, like how do you see the macro situation playing out in the next few years, uh, given the inflation, war, rising debt levels across the globe? How do you think India is going to fare there?
There is one concept called imported inflation.
Hmm.
So, you know that actually we depend at least 80 to 85% on petroleum requirements from outside, and only 15-20% we generate from our internal resources. So, whenever there is any war, this is the first thing which is getting affected. The availability and the price both get affected. So, you have seen in the Ukraine war, it was badly affected. So, we started buying that Russian crude oil, and that too by giving Indian rupee. So it was very cheap there. So you have to change your stance. You have to look here and there, but still you can't actually say that we will be insulated. If the oil prices go over the top, it is going to impact your entire economy. So that's why you see nowadays there is a lot of emphasis on the alternate sources of energy is there, and this electric vehicles are coming, which is the maximum actually user of this petroleum product and all. And then the Reserve Bank has to see that what are the headwinds which is coming from outside. So how it is going to impact our export and import, how it is going to impact the things that actually which is very crucial for our economy, which we are going to import, how the prices will play, and accordingly it has to calibrate its policies. So this foreign exchange market also it has to intervene. Suppose if there is huge amount of money flowing into India, the foreign money, then what will happen that this dollar will become very cheap, is it not? And when the rupee will strengthen, when the dollar will become cheap, then exporters will be hit hard. So Reserve Bank has to enter the market, and they have to buy dollars. Fine. So the dollar prices will go up. Suppose if whenever actually the dollar is not coming and rupee is weakening and dollar is strengthening, then Reserve Bank has to inject dollar into the market. This is called market intervention of Reserve Bank of India. So you have to take this depending upon situation, and then you have to always think ahead that what things are going to come. If the war is unfolding, it's not going to end very soon. That what are the areas, what are the sectors which are going to be impacted, and then what policies we should initiate to address those issues. If you are ready with those policies, then actually it doesn't come as a shocker to you. So there actually Reserve Bank has excelled always. In 2006-2008 crisis also, you see there were 100 banks failed in the United States of America, not even a single bank failed in India. Because at that time Dr. Reddy was governor and he took very preemptive policy. And we have increased our, I think it will be a very technical term to tell you, but we made the housing loan costlier so that many people should not take it. And so there was no bubble created in the housing market, and where the bubble was created in the US market. So you have to be very proactive rather than reactive.
Sir, so right now there is a lot of talk of CBDCs in the ecosystem. Ki maybe in the coming 2 years or 5 years, we'll have a full-fledged CBDC system. So, do you think that that is a positive for the system, or because the positives are obvious कि there will be less possibility for corruption. The government will know where the money is coming and going to, maybe from outside also. But I have seen some criticisms of it, the CBDC system, ki because that is programmable money, because the government will be able to, or the RBI or other central banks also. Maybe India does not have that problem, but some other central government or central banks create a programmable kind of CBDC where they say ki if we suspect something that you're doing, we'll stop the money supply to your bank and you can't use the CBDC. That kinds of problems. Ki, do you think
In
that that
fact,
is a concern?
I'll tell you that CBDC is in a very initial stage, and it is all created to address the issue which is associated with cryptos. So particularly the young generation, the cryptos fascinate them. So they want something which is programmable, which is something which is that a particular system is there on which it operates and all. So just to wean away them, because the cryptos are not regulated entity. So you might have heard a lot of things that actually somebody will hack your system and then they will ask you that you give me so many cryptos, only then actually I will set right your system. So mostly these things are, it has been seen used for the unlawful activities or the criminal activities and all. So it was thought that actually why should not we have a regulated system? So somebody who's interested in that kind of activity, he will get a leeway. So instead of crypto, you go for the CBDC. But CBDC is not going to change the entire currency system in the country. Because right now also, I can tell you, for the last 20 years, I have not gone to the bank branches. I am doing all my transactions through online. Even 10 rupees purchase, I am doing through Google App or Phone Pay and all. So this is something very akin to CBDC. Na? There also, I mean, there is no physical transaction. You are doing through online transactions. So right now also, so these are various, you can say, manifestations of digital transactions and all. So I think, right now the common public, it's very difficult. It's not come to the retail side. It's only on the wholesale, and earlier it was only for the government treasury. But we'll have to see how it unfolds in future, because right now it's very difficult to say that what area it is going to impact, how it is going to be, how big it is going to be there. But globally, this experiment is going on, and in India also, I think 5-6 banks are already roped in by Reserve Bank of India for doing that particular study, that how it is going. And once it is found that it is okay and everybody appreciates, then definitely unfolding will be there.
Do you think cash will ever go out of business? Meaning,
It
all
will
the
never go, and it should never go. We always say that should be less cash economy. I have never told that actually it should be actually cashless economy, because no economy has so far been cashless. Because there are certain elements will always be there in a society. Now I can tell you, I am do all transactions in online, but my maid servant always say that actually I will take in cash. So for her I have to go to the ATM and take out money and give it to her, because he says, my husband will spoil the money, or he will wither away in his gambling activity and all. So if you put the account, then he will siphon away the money. So you give in my hand. I mean, but we have to listen to these people also. So I mean, India is a big country, 140 crore population. It's very difficult to say that everybody will be on board with the online system. So some portion will always be, and it should be there. I don't see any harm that actually some part of cash will be there, and everywhere it is there.
Got it, sir. Sir, I think this was very, very comprehensive answers to all our questions. I think this will be really helpful for just anyone who watches our podcast. Finally, we want to ask, we have a section at the end called as the rapid fire section, where we ask very small questions and like expect like 1 or 2 line answers, just very quick, fun questions. So we'll start with that then. Advait, you can.
Okay.
So, sir, what was the best part about your job at the RBI?
Best part was that actually I was involved with the economic development of the country, and I always thought that actually I should be part of that particular process. That's why I joined the Bank of India. This is one institution where there is no interference, no political interference from outside. You are free to do whatever you like for the development of your society and country.
RBI is the one institution where government has zero say because they're an
No
independent.
say, and particularly they can tell anything to our governor, but they cannot tell anything to the officer. So we are absolutely insulated environment.
And so then, like, one thing you would like to change about your role at RBI, or is there nothing you'd like to change?
Although it's an ideal institution, I must say, and it has been vindicated by success over a year. But still, I feel that a little bit of more authority should devolve from central office to regional offices.
Okay.
So that, because in the regional offices, we are very close to the people. And they know that actually how Reserve Bank is performing, what is the Reserve Bank. Central office is located in Mumbai. So all 140 crore population cannot have access. They have access to Patna office, they have access to Ranchi office, they have access to Calcutta office. So if you give more authority to the people over there, I think your visibility, your performance, your efficiency will improve, and it will be more visible also. So I think a little bit of more devolution of authority and power should be there.
Sir, can AI or robots take over your part of the job in a few years when it is developed?
I think some part of the job, of course, the back office.
Okay.
Something which is very repetitive, like your reconciliation process, your housekeeping process, kind of those things can be taken. But Reserve Bank of India is a policy making body. So AI cannot actually make policies.
Yeah.
So you need to have people who are conversant with, on who can think very ahead, some 10 years ahead, some 5 years ahead of time to make policies.
And
So
I
it is
think,
very difficult.
with the financial system, the foremost thing everybody looks for is security and trust. And as humans, I don't trust a computer with everything. I can't. So the major population cannot trust a computer saying ki, yes, we are demonetizing the system and everything will work. Like you said, ki, when you went on TV channels or to talk to the people, they trust you because you are a person, and you will also be affected with.
I'm telling you. So if a robot talking, and if some executive Reserve Bank of India talking, you will instill more confidence in people rather than a robot talking. So I think these things will always be there. AI is a very good, I can say, machine intelligence. It is there, and it has to come because it is increasing the efficiency of the organization. Every organization is gaining by using that artificial intelligence. But actually, it has got a limitation. Beyond that, it should not go. And then human people also, they have got their role, and machine also have got their role, and there should be a good synergy between man and machine.
Sir, and like, what is one missed opportunity in your career that you would wish that you had a second chance at?
No, I don't think I'm a very satisfied man. I have done something which I have never imagined that I'll be doing those things.
Yeah.
So only two things were very dear to my heart: working in Reserve Bank of India and teaching. So I got a good experience with both in very good institutions. So I have got no regrets that actually I could have done this better and all. Whatever I have done, I think that I think it is the maximum which I could have done.
And sir, so the last question is ki, if not teaching or working with the RBI, what career would you have gone for? Maybe something. Maybe you wanted to become an actor or something.
No, 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 no. If not Reserve Bank of India, I would have this teaching as my, because teaching is my passion. It's not a profession. I never taken teaching as a profession. I take it as a passion, and I always love to interact with the young generation. This is the advantage you get in teaching, because I am 67. I'm and the college I'm interacting with people who are 21, 22, and you will don't believe I am learning every day from them also, because they have got brilliant ideas. New generation is so sharp. It is so exposed to the world ideas. In our days, there was no internet. There was nothing. I mean, nothing was there. So for us, only the physical books were there. Our knowledge was very limited. But nowadays, actually, sky is the limit. So they are wonderful people with whom you interact when you go to the college, and it's a two-way learning. I also teach them; they also teach something to us.
Uh, so we're done with the questions, sir. Thank you for coming. Very inspiring story. मतलब have क्योंकि we haven't talked to a central banker yet. We don't
Yeah.
know someone who has the pedigree to talk about all of these things, because you actually have the bird's eye view of all of the things that would be happening in the country and over the world, but of India, because we need to talk about India more, because we need to uh, stay here and work here. So
Yeah.
very interesting talk, sir. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.